How you doing, everyone? This is Jason Lutz of Rate Mastery, 1003 Magnet, LO Magnet. Thank you so much for coming on the webinar. We have quite a few people here today. But first, before I get started, can someone just type me a little note and let me know that you can hear me okay and you can see my screen? Yes. Okay, perfect. Looks like we're good. So, how to get 5 realtor appointments per week, right? I actually held this webinar about 2 months ago, and it was well received. So I wanted to hold it again because next week we're going to have a webinar about how it is that you kind of deal with that first appointment, that first face-to-face appointment. But first, what we're going to talk about today is actually getting the meetings. And 5 meetings per week it sounds like a lot. It actually is a lot. When I first started in this business, I started as a secondary marketing analyst. And it certainly seemed like a lot to me then, particularly when about 4 years into being a secondary marketing analyst, I kind of looked around and I said, wow, look at all these loan officers making all this money, coming in around 9 o'clock and, going to the bar. This should be easy, right? This is a life that I was built to live. And so I became a loan officer. And I'm like, this is going to be great. Well, it turns out, a blinding glimpse of the obvious for everyone on the webinar, is that being a loan officer and being successful, I should say, as a loan officer is hard. It takes work. There's nothing easy about it. And I learned that pretty quickly. But I persevered. Became a branch manager, ultimately a vice president of a mortgage company, grew my region from 0 to 100 million a month in closings. And what I'm going to be talking about today, and the reason why I bring it up, is that's how I built my business. I'm about to impart on you the basic formula that I use to grow my business as a loan officer, and then ultimately to help my loan officers build their business, and then even, quite frankly, to help recruit loan officers and branches into my region and my fold. So this is proven stuff. Now, before I get started, though, I want to kind of lay the foundation and make sure we're kind of all thinking alike here. There is a book that I read not too awfully long ago called Pitch Anything. It's by Orrin Claff. Highly recommend it. Maybe write it down, but we're going to be posting this on our Facebook page, Rate Mastery. So facebook.com/Rate Mastery. So that you can look at the video and you can see the book title again. And in fact, it's Orrin Claff. But this is, it's very entertaining. It's very easy read. And what he sort of dives into is what it is that we all kind of think and how we use our brain each and every day. And he had such an interesting perspective because in Pitch Anything, now he's a pitch guy, right? Not like a sham wow pitch guy, a pitch guy that takes a product, takes a widget, right, and pitches it to big money guys. So what happens, it's kind of like this. If I go to Orrin Claff, I said, listen, I have this widget. I need 15 million bucks. Now, these are the numbers. This is the marketing material. I need you to put it all together, make it look good, and send it off and give a pitch to people who have money, right? Millionaires, billionaires, equity firms, those kind of guys. And so that's what he does. And he, goes through his whole story of being a pitch guy for these big money deals. Well, it's the typical sort of story, right? He kind of sucks at in the beginning, can't figure out why, and does, and has like this sort of epiphany and realizes sort of the secret sauce. But it really comes down to, I think, something very simple that for me, I really didn't probably give it enough credit and think about it. I kind of knew, but I didn't, really focus in on it enough in talking to real estate agents, or even for that matter, when I was recruiting loan officers and branch managers and that kind of thing too. And the fact is this, whether or not you're a big millionaire, billionaire, money guy, or you're a real estate agent or loan officer, or all of us, you really have 3 parts of your brain and you use it basically the same. And the idea is this. When you initially find yourself in a situation, right, particularly if it's new and unfamiliar, you are using your crocodile brain. In every new situation, a new party, a new phone call, everything, the first part of your brain that's activated is the crocodile brain. And there's a reason for that. It is your most primitive part of your brain. It is the fight or flight. Orncliffe kind of describes it as your crocodile brain. The first things it's trying to determine is it dangerous? Should I eat it or should I mate with it? It's just sort of primal, right? Then as you kind of understand what's going on and you start to assess the situation, you start to use your midbrain and neocortex ultimately so that you can kind of determine social cues, right? And speech, all of that kind of stuff comes from your neocortex, which was the last part of our brain to evolve. Now, there is a reason why this is important. The reason why is this. When we're approaching real estate agents, particularly real estate agents that we don't know, it's important that we focus in on and understand that they are listening to us from their crocodile brain. They're listening to us from their crocodile brain because they want to assess whether or not we're dangerous or anything like that. So we have to alter our pitch, alter our conversation to know we need to get through that crocodile brain so that they can ultimately make more complicated decisions of whether or not to trust us or not, whether or not to give us a deal, right? So the pattern works the same, and that's kind of what I want you to understand as we dig deeper in this. But the crocodile brain is a powerful, powerful force. And I'm going to give you a personal example. About a year and a half ago or so, I purchased a Honda Civic for my daughter. Now, mind you, I absolutely, positively hate buying cars. Now, I know I'm probably not alone in that, but I really almost have a fear of it. And the reason why I have a fear of it is because I don't know jack crap about cars. So every time I go into that situation with the sales guy, I feel so inferior. I'm at a disadvantage. I don't know anything. So this is how this plays out, right? I research on the internet. I find out the car, the color, everything about it. And it's this car. It's a blue 4-door Honda Civic. We're going to go get it. So there's no shopping. Well, I mean, there's kind of shopping on the internet, but I'm going to the dealership and I'm getting a car. So I find the dealership. My daughter and I hop in the car and we drive to the dealership. We pull up into the parking lot. I'm hopping out of my Suburban, and just as I kind of hop out of the Suburban, of course, the sales guy is right there, and he comes walking up. He says, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you with anything?" I said, "Oh, no, just looking." You see, I wasn't just looking. I was doing anything but looking. I was doing the opposite of looking. I wasn't even going to test drive the car. I know it's better than the old clunker VW Bug she had. It has great reviews. Everyone says Honda Civic's great car, reliable, safe, all those cool things. I don't need to do anything other than buy the car. And yet, I am so pathetic, and my crocodile caveman part of my brain says, this is scary. This is a guy who's trying to sell me. And I am going to have this chambered up response of no, just looking. Now, the sales guy is a complete moron because, he has to hear this 75% of the time when someone comes walking up. And yet his initial introduction to me completely lets me off the hook and lets me throw out the "I'm just looking" card. And he's got no response and he starts walking away. Now, of course, I need to run back to him and say, "No, I'm not just looking, I'm buying." I mean, it was a whole mess. But the bottom line is he totally screwed up. But the caveman or the reptilian part of the brain, the crocodile part of the brain is very, very powerful. And so when we're talking to real estate agents, it's the same exact thing. And we experience it all the time. Now, think about this. I mean, you meet a real estate agent in a most spectacular, like a bar, right? A very nice, easygoing setting. And they say something like, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Jill. I'm a real estate agent with Remax," whatever. And I'm like, "Hey, good grief. My name's Jason, and I'm a loan officer at XYZ Mortgage Company." Their next response is, "Whoa, no, man. You know what? I already have a loan officer." And they're great. Sally, she takes these loans, spins them up on their top, and gets them through. She is the best. I couldn't be happier with my loan officer. They're just awesome. So you see, they have the same sort of response, which is they don't want to be sold. They're tired of being sold by loan officers, right? They don't want to be hammered for business. And as soon as I know that they're a real estate agent, they're kind of nervous. And so we have to kind of fight through this. Now, I'm going to dig pretty deep into exactly what it is that I'm going to be asking you to do, and I'm going to give you every single detail of how to do it. But before you jump off the webinar and say, nope, I can't do it, not going to do it, I just want to warn you. When I first go through this, it might be a little uncomfortable about what I'm about to ask you to do and what I know works, which is cold calling. So hopefully not a whole big swoosh of people leave, but cold calling real estate agents is effective, but it doesn't need to be douchey, right? You don't need to be that guy who cold calls. Like everyone's like, well, I hate cold calling. I hate cold callers. I don't like to get cold calls in my house. First of all, we're not cold calling in their house, of course, but it's because of the people that do the cold calling. They don't do it in a nice way. They don't do it in a respectful way, saying, listen, we know you're busy and we're kind of barging into your life. Not only are they barging, then they're trying to sell you right there on the phone, and it's just annoying. We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing any of that. There's no selling, okay? So this can be a comfortable experience and effective. It's so effective that on average for me and the people that I've trained to do it, if you make 20 calls a day, you should expect anywhere from 1 to 2 appointments set per day. Now, the reason why I say 5 actual appointments is really because you have a pretty high ditch you rate, meaning you set up an appointment and anywhere from a third to a quarter just won't show up for whatever reason. Now, remember, this is a cold call, so there's not a lot of emotional vesting in it yet. And frankly, they could forget. Like if you caught them in their car and they're like, hey, yeah, sure, I'm there. I'll be, there at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Meet me there. That kind of thing can happen. So there is a high follow-up, but there's a high success rate with the calling just to get the appointment. So 20 calls a day, 1.5 appointments per day on average. You'll meet a real estate agent with an agent every single day of the working week. I'm not going to just leave it there. I'm going to give you an exact script on how it is that you approach a real estate agent that you don't know, obviously. Now, by the way, if you're a loan officer that has all kinds of relationships, right, and you have tons of realtors and you know all kinds of people, then this might not be the most effective use of your time, right? The most effective is to leverage the relationships you've got, probably. I mean, obviously. If you have 15, 20 real estate agents send you a business and you do a good job and you're doing, 10 deals a month or 8 deals a month, your best bet is to leverage those relationships. You might have grown past the cold calling. I think you should always do it, but there could be better use of your time. Now, if you aren't doing that kind of business, and you're doing, 0, 1, 2, 3, deals a month, then this is definitely a way to go because you clearly don't have enough realtors to be super busy. But if you know the real estate agent, this is not what you do. This is cold calling, no sort of referral or relationship. Before I get into the actual script, there's a few key elements. Now, you can take my script and tweak it so that it's in your own voice, certainly. But there's key parts of this that you're not going to want to mess with, frankly. First, kind of like that car salesman that probably has been saying the same line for the past 20 years and getting the same result over and over again. You want your opening to handle the most common objections. It throws them off their game. It makes it so they actually have to use their brain to push you off, first and foremost. So whatever it is, I know what the most common objection we get. We kind of talked about, we'll go over here in a minute again, but we know what it is, so you need to handle that up front. You need to have something that is unique that you talk to them about in that initial call, like a unique sales proposition. But it needs to be obviously something that can help them, that in their own mind's eye, they can see themselves needing and helping them in their business, right? If it's a producing real estate agent that has a big bulk of business, it would be one thing. It might be another thing, frankly, if it's a realtor that's struggling to make it. But in either case, whatever your target audience is, you need to find a unique sales proposition that will resonate to that target audience. Okay? It needs to be short. This is the biggest mistake I think we've all made. For any of you that have cold called before and you're like, this doesn't work, one of the mistakes I think you may have made, and I've certainly made, is that once you get a real estate agent that is excited to talk to you, or at least willing to talk to you, what happens? Well, you want to talk to them, and you want this conversation to go on, and you're trying to sell them, or you're telling them about all the products you have, or all the last success story you had, or whatever the heck it is that you're doing, and that is the wrong thing to do, because you are never, ever going to sell them in one call. It's impossible. I mean, okay, maybe out of 1,000 calls, you can get them to send you a deal. But it's basically impossible. It needs to be short, and you need to stick with your predetermined objective, and you do not deviate. Because what happens is you'll make 10, 15 calls, and you won't get anything, right? You get voicemails, and you can hang up, whatever. Then you get someone interested, and you just want to talk their ear off. You're wasting their time, you're wasting your time. You're never going to bridge the trust gap in one time. This is a relationship that takes time to cultivate, and it's not going to cultivate any significant difference between, on this phone call right here and now. Your only thing you can do is let everything out of the bag so that there's no reason for them to meet with you. Keep it short and stay clear on your objective at hand, which is to get an appointment, and that is it. Okay, let's just jump into the script. Hello, my name is Jason Lutz with XYZ Mortgage Company. How you doing today? Good, glad to hear it. First, I understand that you are probably working with a loan officer, and that's totally fine. This isn't a call to beg for your business. So we did it right there, right? Right out of the gate. Now, this actually could use a little tweaking, because what happens is that they hear my name is Jason Lutz, and then they hear I'm with a mortgage company, and already they're kind of on guard, but they might be thinking in their head, oh, well, is it one of my deals? Which mortgage company? I've heard of it before, but I don't know. And then we stick it with them that we understand they're already probably working with a loan officer. Okay? We've handled the objection that we get all the time, which is, oh, no, I'm working with someone. No need to talk to me. So boom, they don't have time to get that out. And we let them know that's fine. The other thing that they're freaked out about is getting sold. No different than me with the car salesman. I don't want to walk into a car dealership and, walk in wanting a 4-door Honda Civic and walk out with a Lamborghini Gallardo. I'm sort of like freaked out about that, right? Because I get all excited and I get in the heat of the moment, whatever. They're the same way. They don't want these loan officers coming and begging for their business because they hear it over and over and over again. So you've handled that objection, and it puts their mind at ease that this isn't a sales call that they need to be having their guard up the whole time for. I'd like to get your opinion on a product that is helping our realtors push prospects off the fence and gets them to buy. Do you have 15 minutes to chat tomorrow, Wednesday? Okay, so let's digest this a little bit. I would like to get your opinion. Opinion is very, very important because it elevates them, right? It says, listen, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have something that seems to be working with some other realtors, but you know what? You're the real deal. You're up here. I want to get your opinion if you think that this would work for other realtors, that kind of thing. It elevates them. To the extent that you have any information about them, albeit so much better. Meaning, like you saw an article about them and some real estate rag, and you could say, "Oh, wow, you know what? I'd like to get your opinion on this because you've been voted top 10 realtors 3 years in a row in the Scottsdale area. That's just amazing, and this is helping other realtors, but." I'd really like to get someone of your caliber's opinion on if this really does work in helping get consumers off the fence. Do you have a second? That kind of thing. That'd be even better. But the key is that you want to get their opinion. and then you follow that up with the unique sales proposition. And you can see here, this unique sales proposition that I have, which I'm sure you have a bunch at your company that you can create as well with all the products and services you have. This happens to dovetail into 1003 Magnet and LO Magnet as well, a product that we offer, or a feature set of a product that we offer. And actually, I will be going over that in a little bit more detail at the end, but we'll go over that here in a second. You need to tailor it so that it's interesting, so it appeals to their crocodile brain. And if this is a real estate agent that has a book of business, that has prospects, and they're starting to build up, which is any real estate agent that has a lot of people on the line, but is like, hey, I need to get some deals going, and they just keep on looking and talking and looking and talking, that'll appeal to them. This obviously doesn't appeal to the real estate agent that does one deal every 6 months, which they're fine too. You just would want to probably tweak the unique sales proposition if you're trying to capture those people. The next part, do you have 15 minutes to chat? Now, this is actually big. I mean, so big for me, only because I made the same mistake for years. And I don't know why. I mean, actually, I do know why, because it's what everyone does. I would always ask for a lunch. Right? Hey, can I take you out to lunch? Right? It's free food. Why wouldn't they? Offering something of value, I guess. It's wrong. I mean, the success rate that we have with making these cold calls and asking for, just 15 minutes of their time versus lunch is astronomical. Now, clearly, if you have a relationship with them, lunch is a different story, right? But 15 minutes is lunch is a big commitment for someone that they don't know, that you just cold called. I mean, they don't know if you're a psycho, if you spit your food when you eat. They don't know anything about you. So internally you're like, hey, I know me, and this seems like a good deal. For them, it's a big risk and a lot of friction. 15 minutes, zero friction, no commitment. It means nothing, right? So I switched that and increased the success tremendously. Chat's a nice word. Want to leave out things like meetings, because no one has a good feeling about a meeting. Meetings never work out. They're just boring. They don't produce anything. They're a waste of time. Chatting is nice and personal and low-key. And then, of course, tomorrow, Wednesday, sort of sales 101, right? Either, you make them choose something. That's both of which are in your favor, really. So that is a sample script. Kind of tweak it. But again, there's key components. You need to handle the objection as soon as possible. And frankly, even with my script, I leave sort of an opening where you say, hey, how you doing? You can tweak it so you pull that out and you just jump right into it. I don't find that it has ever been a problem, but technically speaking, it is a window for them to push back and have these sort of negative thoughts in their mind and have the crocodile brain all kind of jump out at you and for it to be a problem. You need a unique sales proposition, right? It needs to be something that helps them succeed, helps them build their business. By all means, it needs to be short, very, very short. Get out. I mean, this is 1 to 2 minutes. Boom, boom. Get a time. Move on. Never deviate from your objective. Don't start talking about loan programs. Don't start talking about the unique sales proposition and going into it. Now, they're going to push back, and they always do. I shouldn't say always, but a lot of them do. There's like, listen, what is this? What's the deal? Is this a software thing? Is it a flyer thing? What is it that's pushing my prospects off the fence? Because I've heard it all. What is it? You have to handle that, right? You need to handle that objection. Say, you know what? I'd love to tell you. I'd love to sell you right here and now on the phone and really, bring you a ton of success rather than. But it's really just something you need to see. It's very visual, and if 15 minutes, and you know what? I'll put a stopwatch on it. I'm telling you, if nothing else, you'll know about a new product out there that's helping some realtors. I don't know if it'll help you, but some realtors kind of push looky-loos off the fence. So what do you think? So you just have to keep on pushing towards your goal. Don't let them reframe you and deviate from your goal. So as I mentioned, If you want the scripts, if you want any of the screens, just go to facebook.com/rate mastery. Now, I'm going to go into the actual pre-lock push marketing, right? We call it a pre-lock CRM. Now, this, by the way, for those of you who are not 1003 Magnet members or not a part of LO Magnet, which means your company pays for this product for you, very generously so, then you obviously don't have access to the product that I'm about to talk to. And this is not meant to sell you, right? So I'm not trying to sell you or anything like that. So if you want to jump off right here and now, go right ahead. I totally understand. But for those of you that are members of 1003 Magnet or LO Magnet, I think you might want to stick around for this, because I was describing a unique sales proposition which was brought up, a product that is helping our realtors push prospects off the fence and gets them to buy. That's something you have access to within 1003 Magnet and LO Magnet that a lot of the loan officers are finding a great deal of success with, that I think you could too. And I'd actually like to get some of your opinions. But let me kind of make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what this is and what it can do. So the idea is this. When a consumer comes to you and you pre-qualify them, you go over everything basically. You give them a price range and you tell them a payment and that, hey, this is based on this rate. It's based on this rate. No guarantee of what rates will be, but that's based on that. So you're kind of steering them of what their world would look like if they bought a house locked, closed today, right? If it all could happen today magically. Well, that's obviously not the way it's going to happen. So what's interesting is real estate agents push you over business, and a lot of times that these people just end up becoming stagnant, right? And they just kind of end up, not really doing anything, and they're just kind of looking around. Maybe it's an investor or whatever. So what we have is the only pre-lock CRM, and what it's designed to do is this marketing, you put the realtor on it or the consumers or both, and it sends to them. It's co-branded with you and the real estate agent. Even if you send it just to the real estate agent, they can forward it off to their database, and they will because their information's on it. But what we do is we tell them, what are the directions of rates, right? Where are they headed? What's the forecast? What are events that could come up here in the next week or two that could move rates substantially? And what are we looking at the international events that are affecting interest rates? We don't talk about the actual rate, like, oh yeah, today the average 30-year fixed is 5%. That would be dumb. But what we do is we tell them sort of what the flow of rates are so that they know what's going on. Now, this obviously keeps them attracted to you, and that's great. But what it also does is it pushes them off the fence when rates move up. And this has actually been repeated to us over and over again. And it's really cool that when rates when you see the rates are trending, boom, in the red, and volatility, boom, in the red, and that happens, not here the last few weeks, I will say, but it happens frequently. And for us in our industry, it's going to happen more often than not over the next few years. It moves people into action. It moves the prospect into saying, hey, well, I better get off the dime because I was quoted over here 3 weeks ago and it looks like rates are starting to move the wrong way. So I don't want my pre-qual to not work. I don't want, my world to be changed based on rates moving. It also expands your reach. Because what a lot of our loan officers at 1003 Magnet and LO Magnet are doing is they're setting up their real estate agents on the daily and weekly insider, which is essentially, similar information, but one sent obviously daily and one sent weekly. And they send it directly to the real estate agent so they can forward it off to their database. Because remember, what we're talking about here is new realtor relationships, right? That's what we're kind of initially talking about. And realtors aren't all that excited about giving you their database of prospects, right? I mean, when they just meet you, they're not doing it. But if you provide good, compelling marketing material like this, and the only pre-lock CRM information like this, they can certainly forward it to their database, right? That's not a problem. Giving you all their names and numbers and all emails and all that, different story. But I want to warn you on something. This is a pre-lock purpose-built CRM, right? So you may very well want to, as soon as you lock them, pull them off the marketing. Because if you were to lock them today and all of a sudden tomorrow's daily rate insider shows, oh, rates dropping, volatility is, good, forecast is green sky or blue skies ahead, it's probably not a conversation you really want to kind of create. Actually, some of our loan officers just leave them on it forever, and they're like, listen, they're going to go somewhere for the information. I'd rather them ask me about what's going on in the market than Google and finding rate porn everywhere, right? So I get that too, but that's just sort of a sort of best practices. Probably want to pull them off the daily at the very least. So again, if you want this video and you want information about Rate Mastery and the upcoming events, like us on Facebook. It's Rate Mastery, obviously facebook.com/Rate Mastery. And real quick, before we go, I mentioned that we're going to have a follow-up webinar, which is about the first meeting framing. We're going to talk about gaining control, right? Because there is no situation that you're going to have less control in probably than your first meeting of cold calling a real estate agent, right? I mean, that's about as low control as you can get. But we're going to talk about how you can reframe it so that you gain control so that that meeting can go in the direction that you want it to go and ensure that you have a second meeting. Because, by the way, remember we always said we need an objective with everything that we do. When we cold called, it's to get the first meeting. When we're at the second meeting, our objective is to get, when we're at our first meeting, our objective is to get a second meeting. Okay? Thank you for jumping on this webinar. I appreciate it. Hope everyone enjoyed it. We're right at the 30-minute mark, so that's perfect. Have a wonderful day, and thank you.